The long-awaited Persona 3 Reload finally dropped about 2 weeks ago, and after doing nearly everything possible in the game, I feel comfortable saying it's the best Persona game of all time, and most certainly in the discussion for one of the best remakes of all time. It has now set a new standard for the series, and I'd even go as far to say it's up there with Resident Evil 1 Remake just in terms of the quality of the remake, to be honest. But I'm not gonna get that far ahead of myself. Reload improves on the story a lot, and the gameplay is the best in the series, topping even that of Persona 5 Royal, which is an impressive feat to say the least. And oh my god, y'all, the style this game has is insane! The UI, the graphics, the music, it's all superb. Alright, I'm getting all over the place, so I'm just gonna start off with the story. The Persona 3 story was already amazing from the very start, and I feel like most people would agree with that statement. Well, Reload takes the blueprint of it and amplifies it by an insane amount. The main complaint with remakes is that they tend to cut out content for the sake of time, or whatever the excuse the devs want to make is, right? Well, in terms of the story, I genuinely can't think of a single important thing that is not present. There's really only new content. In fact, I can only think of a couple things in this entire game that were cut, but they were replaced and made better, so it doesn't even really count. The story is strictly an improvement, and Reload is now the best way to consume the journey chapter of Persona 3. I can't comment on the answer yet, obviously, but I have faith that will be improved as well. There are new hangout events and linked episodes that act as ways to spend more time with your party members, get combat and various abilities, and get more lore for the characters, and these are some of the best parts of the game easily. Some characters in the original story of Persona 3 I wished had more of a spotlight to shine, and this game gives it to them in a great way. The linked episodes are basically the equivalent of social links for the male party members since they didn't have any before, and they were fucking peak. While the female protagonist had social links in Persona 3 Portable, I found myself enjoying these linked episodes just as much, if not more. These events show a different side of the cast that we've never seen before, and I love it. The pacing has also been improved, and there are new scenes revolving around the main antagonists of the game. If you're familiar with Persona 3, you know exactly who I'm referring to, but for the sake of keeping it spoiler-free, I won't say the names of these individuals. What I will say, however, is that these new scenes make the antagonists a lot better, and it feels like they have more of a presence than before, which was desperately needed. These antagonists were the weakest part of Persona 3's narrative before, in my opinion, but now I feel comfortable saying they're actually pretty great. Another thing I fucking love about the story is that for some cutscenes, they take inspiration from the movies, and in a lot of cases, they actually do it even better than the movies. I actually think making an entirely separate video on this could be interesting, but on screen is a small example of what I mean with the awakening scene as the comparison. The choreography of Orpheus appearing is very similar, and there's other spots in the game that do the same thing. So it also has some of the best aspects from the games and the movies as well, which is so cool. The only criticism I can give the story is that the FemC route is not present. Now look, I know some people may not care or think it's not that important since this is technically a remake of Persona 3 FES, but a remake should strive to be the true definitive version of a title, and without FemC, I cannot call it that. FemC added a different perspective that could have been made infinitely better since her route is stuck on the portable version. And while it's not that bad, it's just not as enjoyable as the other versions in my opinion. I don't think it not being here hurts the game, but she should have been here nonetheless. And oh my god, I just realized I haven't talked about the voice acting yet. Y'all, the voice acting in this game is actually incredible. And this also lets me touch up on the social links as well. The voice cast in this game blew my expectations out of the water. I'm being so serious when I say that I think this game probably has the best voice cast of any game I've ever played. The main cast, the side characters, the social links, everyone blew their roles into the stratosphere, and I'm not even talking about some Tekken 8 shit, you know? Okay, that was a really terrible joke, but seriously, there's not one voice talent that I thought did a bad job. Every serious moment in this game got amplified like crazy because of this, and the best part is all of the social links are fully voiced too. The social links are basically unchanged from the original games, and I don't have too much of a problem with that. There are some critiques I have with them, like the options you have to choose to advance them the fastest basically enable them on their poor behavior a lot of times, which is kinda silly, but I think the storylines themselves are overall really solid, and there are good character arcs to be experienced. Now, there are some bad social links in this game, I'm not even going to try to deny that. In fact, I think this game has the worst social link in Persona history. The Moon social link is probably the worst thing I have ever experienced in the Persona series, and it did not get any better in Reload at all. For those of you that played the original game, if you disliked the social link before, then you're probably still not going to like them even with the voice acting. But on the other hand, The ones you did like will be amplified even more, so just think of it that way. Overall though, without going into spoilers, that's about all I can say for the story and the social links. It improves it on basically every front in my opinion, and it's still the same old beautiful story that's iconic to this day. It's definitely a story worth experiencing, but something that is just as good about this game, if not better, has to be the gameplay. So let me segue to that real quick. The gameplay loop in this game is easily the best in the series. It's basically Persona 5 Royal on steroids, and that's the biggest compliment I can give to a title. I already had a blast on Royal, what with the show times, the Persona traits and all that, but this game introduces some new mechanics and skills that just made it an absolute blast to play. Not only that, they finally managed to make Tartarus an enjoyable dungeon to go through, because I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I fucking hated Tartarus in the original games. There are a bunch of different mechanics that make it better, so let's start with the revamped Shuffle Time. Shuffle Time is a lot better because you can now get major Arcana cards which give you certain abilities. One might give you the ability to choose multiple cards during it, one can raise your Persona stats, increase all-out attack damage, and things of that nature. And once you get the max amount you can get in the visit to Tartarus, then the normal cards become amplified. These are the ones like the extra yen, XP, and all that good jazz. It makes Shuffle Time feel a lot more exciting because there are really good, tangible rewards that are invaluable. I always get excited finishing a fight and seeing it start because I'm always like, oh shit, maybe this is the Arcana card I want, or maybe I can get a skill card I can put on my Persona. It's a great system and it adds a ton. The next important mechanic you get access to is the Theurgy mechanic. These are unique skills to each party member that fulfill various roles, whether it be support or damage or things like that. Yukari, for example, gets severe wind damage, while someone like the protagonist starts out with a support Theurgy that restores health and accuracy and evasion. You unlock more of these abilities through story progression, and man, they are fun as hell. Each character builds their Theurgy through different means based on their personality as well. Since Yukari's personality is wanting to prevent anyone dying, she builds her meter by using support skills on the party, while someone like Mitsuru builds hers from inflicting ailments on enemies. It's actually a masterful way to implement a system like this because Persona is all about your strength of heart and having your own strengths based on who you are as a person, so this blends in seamlessly, and I think this should be a staple aspect of every entry in the series going forward. These Theurgy skills add such a great dynamic because there are options for any kind of party comp you want. If you want to run a magic build, then Yukari is great as a support for that, and if you want to run a physical build, then Koromaru is a great support for that then. Each party member is fairly similar in power level, although there are some I think are a little underpowered like Mitsuru. In the early game she's great, but in the later stages of the game she becomes underwhelming in my opinion, since most enemies nullify ailments at that point. She's still usable though, so it isn't that big of a deal, it's just I think she could have been better. Okay, so in conjunction with these Theurgy skills are the combat characteristics you get shortly after, and these are unlocked by spending time with them in the overworld. Once you fulfill the requirements, they get stronger, and some of the characteristics you can unlock are absolutely insane. Going back to Yukari as an example because she's a GOAT, is that her characteristic halves the cost of her healing skills, which basically makes SP a non-issue for her. And again, these are intertwined with the whole strength of heart aspect that makes Persona what it is. Alright, so next up on the list of things that make this game goated is the shift system. This is basically the exact same system as the baton pass from Persona 5 if you're familiar with that, but basically when you hit an enemy's weakness or get a critical, you can shift to another party member. Sometimes it's worth doing and sometimes it's not, but the fact it's in this game makes it feel really satisfying to play. Hitting an enemy's weakness with one person and then swapping to another to hit another enemy's weakness of a different affinity gives me a crazy dopamine hit every time and I love it. And this gives me an opportunity to go into some of the new skills added in this game too. So there are some skills you can get like Shift Amp or Shift Boost that give certain abilities when you shift to a party member. Some will boost attack when shifted to, and some can recover a small sum of SP. So it's another layer that goes into building a good kit. Now shifting away from the shift mechanic, get it because it's called shift? Okay, look, I'm not good at jokes, but what the point is that this game has some dope ass skills, alright? By far my favorite one is called Bloody Charge. This one works like the charge skill, but instead of using SP you sacrifice HP, and it's so satisfying to use. The animation is amazing and it just feels so metal to throw away a piece of your life to get power. I think it fits the theme of the game pretty well too, but that one's kind of a stretch. Okay, there's probably a lot more I could talk about, but the last thing I want to talk about is the overall revamp to Tartarus itself. There's so many things that make it a more enjoyable experience, so I'm just going to list a few of them off. The Twilight Fragment system can be used to open chests for good loot or items, and restore your HP and SP at the clock. You now have manual control of your party as an option, so that's just a given on how it makes it better. The floors don't reset every time you leave a floor until you leave Tartarus for the night. There are items lying around that you can sell for money or gain items from, and most importantly, the Monad doors are completely different from how they used to be. So Monad in the original game was basically a final dungeon that contained the hardest enemies in the game and led to the secret fight if you fulfilled the requirements. Well, now the Monad doors are at the end of each barrier floor and are a 3-fight gauntlet that have different gimmicks you need to play around. Some will inflict hella ailments, some will have an insane amount of health and stuff like that. Some party members are better for certain doors, and this makes it so much better than it was before. You get more lore about the events of the story as well as outfits and items, so it's very worth doing on top of just being a fun challenge. So yeah, the combat is actually goated, and that covers a lot of the things I think are vital to touch up on regarding it. It's an extremely fun system and it's low-key addicting. Near the end of the game, I spent hours and hours grinding to get my level up and experiment with the persona fusing and different party comp. It's rewarding, satisfying, and stylish as all hell. With the combat and gameplay loop detailed, I want to touch up on the social sim aspect as well. It is exactly what you'd expect from a Persona game where after school or whatever time it might be, you can spend time with your social links to advance them, help them, and learn more about them. Again, like I said before, these links are pretty solid overall, and it's where you're going to be spending the majority of your time in this game. There honestly isn't too much else to do in the city besides that and raising your social stats, but there is one small saving grace, and that is the Elizabeth request. Elizabeth will give you requests for doing things in Tartarus, but she'll also give you requests to do things around the city as well. These are usually pretty easy, but they give really solid rewards and are usually pretty entertaining even though they don't take very long to do. Once you do a certain amount of requests, you can hang out with her too, and these are some of the most enjoyable scenes in the game in my opinion. Liz is a goofball ass goober, and that's why she's a GOAT. Like I said, there's a lot more to the gameplay than I've detailed here, but I really don't want this review to be 8,000 years long, so I'm just gonna leave it. Really don't want this review to be 8,000 years long, so I'm just gonna leave it at that for this video. Just know this game has an assload of content, and you're gonna be hard pressed to have nothing to do in-game a lot of the time. Persona as a franchise has always been well known for its style and music, and let me just tell y'all right now, this game is nothing short of a visual spectacle. After seeing the UI, the music, and the graphics, I felt like I had achieved inner peace. I felt as though my third eye had been opened and I ascended to a mortal plane unknown to humans that came before me. This game is truly beautiful to look at and it never got old. I mean, just look at these menus, man. It is fucking beautiful. Every time I went to check on something like my equipment, the requests, or whatever, I was just blown away by how pretty the menus were. They have so much personality to them, and this is what Atlus does better than anyone else in the industry. The transitions between the menus are amazing, and this applies to the combat as well. When you open any menu, there's a different style for it, and the best part is they actually change depending on the costume you're using. It is a damn masterpiece in motion, I swear. The graphical fidelity is just out of this world too. There are some spots that I felt could look a little bit better lighting wise, like a dorm, but for the most part the city, the dungeons, and most locations in the game are beautiful. I mean, look at the reflections on the ground here in this section of Tartarus for a minute, and then the reflections in Polonia Mall. The ray tracing isn't overbearing, but when it's used, it's really noticeable and it looks amazing. The music is the one spot I'm a bit divisive on, and I think a lot of other people are as well. Now, do not get it twisted. Overall, this game's soundtrack is amazing, but there are some songs that I prefer the original versions for. The new singer Azumi, at least I think that's how you pronounce it, did an amazing job. She has a great voice and is the best part of most of the new songs easily. I don't think much more needs to be said about the music, to be honest though, because we all know how good Persona music is. Like, come on now. It's probably the reason the series has garnered so much respect and traction. Most YouTube videos I watch use Persona tracks and they don't even make Persona videos. So if that doesn't prove my point, then I don't know what would. Like I said at the beginning, I think Persona 3 Reload sets a new standard for the series and is probably the best entry to date. Everything they added is amazing, there's basically no cut content, and the gameplay is infinitely better than it used to be. With the Answer Remake getting DLC soon, it's not far-fetched to assume that it will be the same story as the Journey where it's improved upon. And we can only hope so because the Answer is pretty rough. So with all of this said, what would I give this game out of 10? Well, just because Femc isn't in the game, I'm gonna give it a 9.5. The game itself is a 10 out of 10, no doubt, but to me personally, I really was disappointed to hear that her route wasn't going to be in the game. So I feel obligated to dock at least a tiny bit of score for that reason. If you want to crucify me for that, then go for it, but that's just how I feel regarding that topic. The Persona series is looking real up with quality like this coming out, and I can't wait to review the answer whenever that releases. I'm also going to be doing more analysis videos for the other members of Cease in the same vein that I did for Makoto, or the protagonist, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss those. That's basically all I have to say regarding this spoiler-free review of Reload though. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like, leave me some feedback in the comments, and all that good jazz. I love interacting with y'all. It's been your boy Yandere Gogeta, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out, and have a great day.